Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to She Joy. It is that fine medium, Dr. Rose, coming to you live with another message of what you need to know today. So, you guys, we are actually talking about whites and non-whites, where the origin came from, and what you need to know about the color change. First and foremost, I just want to start by saying that it has been proven many, many times that we are all of one descent. Okay? We are all of one. Okay? And we can even go as far as who actually colonized the world as we know it, the natives, okay, who are darker colored people, okay? Even Asiatic people were darker colored people at that time. And we know that, the African American woman is the only race who can accurately create all races. You can have an African American male and an African American woman and have an albino child, okay? Anyway, that being said, let's get into the discrepancies here. Now, the statement is that white people were not in America until 1681, which is the early 17th century, okay? So British colonies in Maryland and Virginia were, it's where the majority of this starts, okay? So there at the time was a lot of tobacco being distributed, which took a lot of labor workers. So British people, who now currently are called white, okay? British people and non-whites, which was, your African Americans, Native Americans, Mexicans, Orientals, so on and so forth, were equal. We lived the same life, okay? We all worked outside. We all were, doing tobacco work and so on and so forth. Okay, we shared laws, homes, so on and so forth. We lived a very similar life. Okay, now later on, what happened was the law of culture, which was free Africans had. The free African Americans could have slaves, vote, they could do mixed marriages and stuff and like that. Now, the 1664 law said that British or freeborn people, which were white people, okay, they couldn't marry non-British or freeborn people. And if they did, then the woman who did would be enslaved for her whole life, and then her kids would be enslaved up until the ages of 20. Okay? And this happened colony by colony and state by state until the no anti-miscegenation laws of white and black specifically people happened, okay? Now, there was that 1664 law that they made an amendment to in 1681 stating that British and other white, people, could not be of any other race. Could not be outside of any other race. And it was punishable for the white female, but not for the white male. Okay? Now, what happened between the law of 1664 and 1681 happened to be the Bacon's Revolt. Okay? The Bacon's Revolt was basically by Nathaniel Lincoln between 1664 and 1681, saying that no Britain laborers were available at that time. They had been extinguished. So punishment was more severe for the ones who were already enslaved, okay? And they added more years to them, as well as collateral as relatives and stuff like that. those released were upset, right? So those African Americans, so on and so forth, who were released were upset because they could not get land, they could not vote, and basically jobs, everything was limited. So even though they were free, they had issues building a life. And the elites had intended to divide and conquer because of the rebellion that was happening. Okay? And what they wanted to do is create a divide by saying, okay, well, the whites, this was the first time in 1681 that white was introduced. Okay? White was considered to be Portuguese, Irish, British people, so on and so forth, pale-skinned people, okay, was known as white. Any other race was known as non-white, okay? And basically stated that they were the first to go into a building, first to be addressed. They had more privileges, which made them feel more special, which made the people who didn't have those privileges feel less special. And this ideology continued, until the prohibition of free blacks. But even then, they could not hold office, they could not hold weapons, lands, they could not have marriages or testify against any whites, okay? Till the 18th century came along and citizenship laws of naturalization happened, saying that someone not born of the country could become a member to be, in our lands, but they had to be white. And this was as far as 1952. This lasted until 1952. So that was pretty crazy. And if a female went outside of what she was supposed to do, she completely lost her citizenship. Okay? So then you had the 1896 Plessy versus Vargas, where the Constitution, basically, where it was said that the Constitution wasn't even made for African American people. The intent was not made for African American people at all, because they were cheap labor, cheap and dependent labor. Okay, because if they had no rights, they could not vote. They had no vote, then they had no voice. If they had no voice, they could not, revolt. So before 1644, everyone was equal. Everybody was equal, okay? There was no black, no white, no differentiating, none of that. We just had British or African or, whatever tribe or whatever place that you were from. That's just what you were acknowledged as. Up until 1644, when they decided, up until 1681, when they decided that, Irish, Portuguese, British, so on and so forth, were considered white, aka privileged people. Okay, so this was just a quick history lesson for those of you who wanted some backdrop, maybe some intellect on how to argue a good couple points, if you needed that information. That being said, please leave a comment if you want to do a video together, if you want me to post a specific video on a specific topic. I love reading you guys' comments. Let me know what you think, what you feel, what you want, so on and so forth. Stay blessed, never stressed, with much peace, much power, much love, much light, and of course, much joy. I'll see you guys next time.